Okay, so I want to show you guys something crazy in Remnant 2. We're going to be looking at a bleed build that I've put together that absolutely destroys Apocalypse difficulty, which is a difficulty you unlock after completing the game. So I completed it in Survivor, now I'm playing through on Apocalypse, and if we have a look at the damage, it's really, really low. It deals 257 when it's at its max, and it's anywhere between like 9 and 10,000 DPS per magazine. But if we take a look at the build, we are using, the primary weapon is the Merciless. I've got a plus 10, and it's pretty much the mutator that makes this gun even better, because it's going to fire fletchets and they are going to apply 705 bleed damage over 10 seconds. The base damage is really low at 39, and that's a plus 10 maxed out weapon. But if you look at Twisting Wounds plus 10, it increases the range damage of the weapon by 20% to bleeding targets. And when the mutator is plus 10 or level 10, the weapon's ranged weak spot and ranged crit hits apply bleeding as well, dealing 564 bleed damage over 10 seconds. So the way we've set this up is our primary archetype is the Gunslinger, mainly because the prime perk is one that I prefer over the Hunter. The Hunter's one is when you're dealing ranged weak spot damage, you'll basically extend the duration of the skills for the archetype. So I would rather have when I use a skill, I'd rather have both weapons instantly reloaded and get infinite reserve ammo on them for 8 seconds. The skill we're running is Bulletstorm, the final level 10 skill, because that's going to increase our fire rate by 20% and reload speed by 50%, which is also going to last 20 seconds. Then if we move over, the secondary archetype is the Hunter, and it's mainly because of that damage perk. You gain 40% range damage, 15% weak spot damage, and 5% crit chance. And then the skill we are using is the level 5 skill called Hunter's Focus, because when you continuously aim down your sights uninterrupted and without shooting, it causes the Hunter to enter a focus state, and when you are focused, it reduces your weapon spread, recoil, and sway by 75%, and it grants you 25% ranged weak spot damage. I believe that's supposed to say melee, possibly, and you also get 10% ranged crit chance. And then while you're focused, aiming at enemies will automatically apply mark, and what that does is crit chance against marked enemies is increased by 15% for all allies. So what I've done with the armor is I've got it so that it's at a weight of 49, so it's at the top end of medium, so we have normal dodging, and the armor value is 89, so the damage reduction is just over 30% or just under 31. So what I've got on is the Leto Mark II helmet, the Red Widow chest, the High Noon boots, and the Dendroid gloves. Then for the relic, we've got the Dragon Heart, just because it's just a basic one. It's the first one you get in the game. And we are going for Mythic Relic Fragments. We have 10% elemental damage, 10% fire rate, and 10% range damage. Then for the other weapons, I've just got the Enigma on and the Dreamcatcher. Then this is where it gets juicy, because we've got a Merciless that has bleeding damage. And over here we have Ravager's Mark, increases all damage dealt to bleeding targets by 20%, and the bonus increases to 30% for targets that have less than 50% health. Then for the rings, we have elemental damage increased by 10, we've got all damage increased by 7%, you can see the names of the rings above them, and we have increased range damage by 12%, it does reduce all other damage, but we're focusing on raw damage and elemental for the bleed. And then after 7 seconds of not being damaged, we get increased range damage by 10%. Then for the traits, we have the Gunslinger trait for 50% ammo reserves. We have the Hunter archetype trait for the weapon's ideal range to be increased by 6 meters. We've got health regen with regrowth. We've got healing is increased by 50% because Apocalypse, you're getting hit for, I believe it's about 450% extra damage. So the healing comes in very, very handy. Then we've got Vigor to get our max health increased. We've got Glutton, which is the use speed of consumables and relics by an extra 30% at max level. Bark Skin, because that's pretty much a mandatory trait in my opinion. All incoming damage is reduced by 10%. Then we have Siphoner for lifesteal. We've got some expertise for skill cooldowns. And we have a default level of endurance for max stamina. So if I quickly pop up the advanced stats, you can see them all here. And if I scroll down, you'll see the rest of them. So we've got things like we've got 41% damage reduction altogether. We've got 110% range damage, 25% fire rate. It's a really, really good build, especially for bleed. So even though per mag we are only dealing between 9 and 10,000 damage, if we finish off this mag, 9151, it doesn't seem a lot. And what we're going to do is go into Nerud on Apocalypse difficulty, because I want to show you this against some of the enemies. And you have to bear in mind, they're robots, so they should be most resistant to things like bleed. So if we jump in, just quickly before we do jump in, if I go to the world settings, you'll see difficulty is Apocalypse. And if we go to Phantom Wasteland, there are a bunch of drones that spawn here. And I want to keep one, because I want to show you the health regen. So if we start attacking this one, if we can actually hit it. Please stop moving. There we go, we hit it. We've already got one over here. So if I can land my shots, you'll see the bleed and just how much it ticks into the health bar. And look at that. This is Apocalypse difficulty where they have a lot more health. And I took a hit there, so if I can just keep myself alive. There we go, that one's dead. And if you look at the bottom, that red bar, the health regen is crazy. So you're going to keep yourself alive. You're going to deal lots and lots of damage with the bleed. Because even though it's between 9 and 10,000 DPS, it's really, really low. You're actually still dealing a lot of damage. But that's Apocalypse difficulty with a weapon that just seems quite basic and doesn't have a high DPS, but the bleed is incredible. So obviously being on Apocalypse, you're going to have to be incredibly careful because the damage is so much higher from the enemies. They've got a lot more health and stuff, but even against the robots in Nerud, the bleed damage still ticks through their health like they don't even exist. They die so fast using the Merciless long gun. And that's without even using the skills. We can get faster fire rate and stuff. We can get focused and then mark, so it's extra crit damage and everything. This is probably one of the best builds I've used in this game so far. And that is my bleed build to absolutely destroy Apocalypse difficulty in Remnant 2. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.